a little bit through it. And then I just separate it on this cookie rack, or how you call it, the drying rack. So that's the main job.
Open the salmon and then
Yeah,
Kind
it's got
of-
a membrane on one side.
Yeah, kind of
On the other
massage
side
it
doesn't really have a
gently.
membrane, so you open the non-membrane side.
Yeah, I wish I had enough space so you would all do it, but looks like it's
So
not
I
gonna
was thinking you meant those were your favorite salmon, but you're talking about the chums and the pinks are the best for the
caviar. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's for the caviar. Yeah. And like I have a lot, so I don't
Well-
sweat about little things. This goes to birds. That favorite food for the birds. But we'll make enough for us
Yeah,
to
so
eat it.
there's a question of ripeness.
Yeah,
how ripe
sometimes-
the eggs are, so you can't just say a dog or a pig.
Right.
The question is whether you have a salmon that's ripe. When I was going through gutting these, some of the skeins were only this big. They weren't mature at all.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and so they were
So
just
they wouldn't be good.
so they were just impossible.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
you
Trying to
you
get
would
the
see
light
it when you
here.
start separating. You would see it. Some of them separates very easy, plum plum plum. And the others it's like you can't really
And
separate
then
them.
if you try to get like in a spawning, they're overripe. And
Then they
they burst and,
yeah,
and the
they-
membrane isn't intact. and
Yeah.
So there's a narrow window on the
Yeah,
highest quality,
yeah.
which is nearly more important than species, is
Okay.
correct ripeness. And not
yeah.
overripeness.
For eating, the flavor it's the same. Basically, it's all good and very beneficial.
So you really
But
need
for
one
me,
with the harvest.
is
You know,
for
the dogs,
work.
dogs and the
Process.
pinks have
for the
larger
processing.
eggs,
Yeah.
Okay.
but they're pale.
Because they are
That's good
little,
to
so
know.
it
They
takes
don't have the
a lot
color.
of
Yeah, thanks
they-
for that
the same effort.
clarification.
Right,
Sure.
Right.
you
the
know.
same effort for
But it all
smaller,
tastes
for
very
the big
similar
ones.
to me
But
at the
yeah,
end of the day.
they're very similar. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So-
basically the same.
So the thing is, if you have possession of a fish and it has perfectly ripe eggs, make caviar
Right.
Yeah.
because they're all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And now you probably could find different recipes, but when I came to Alaska 10 years ago, there was not a recipe in English on the internet. And I didn't grow up doing this. I didn't know how to do it. We used to buy caviar at the store, but we never made it. We don't have salmon in Lithuania, but caviar we eat, they used to bring it from Russia. So when I saw all this caviar, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to find out how to make it. And at these times, there were no Facebook yet, but they had these forums, if you remember, some kind of forums. So I started researching in Russian on the internet, and I found the forum where caviar makers in Siberia, they work for the processing plant.
Okay.
And I wrote in English because I don't have a keyboard in Russian. So anyway, I wrote in English and I said, if you would please tell me the process, you can write to me in Russian. I understand perfectly. So somebody wrote me, there in Russian, the recipe, and they wrote me how they do it in the processing for selling commercially and how they do it at their home. Because commercially, like here too, they have to add preservatives, the chemicals.
Right.
And actually that year it was very sensitive because they have rules which chemicals to add. And that year they changed the chemicals, and those processors already bought chemicals for that year's processing, and they changed it, so they had to throw away all those chemicals and buy new ones. But they said for themselves at home they don't put obviously
Right.
chemicals, and they gave me this recipe how to do it just with salt. So I was like, wow, I was really grateful, and it works. The only thing that was a challenge for us to figure out how to separate it, because they were saying they doing all kind of, they didn't have
Do you
this.
need to give the grate a shake and clear the
Yeah.
back of it a little bit?
They didn't have they didn't say a rack of this drying the cookie dryer rack. They were saying, oh, you have to come up with something. They were even using racket badminton racket.
What?
Oh, badminton.
Racket.
That would work.
And no, my gosh, I tried it like, oh my gosh, David says must be some better method. And then David made it up, himself, some kind of sheet with
Oh, so you took a cookie tray and then you
and
put
then
the other.
we were walking one time
Well,
in
I
a store
didn't have
and
it
like,
square,
holy
so I
shit,
had
maybe I
just
should try
straight
this. And was like, eureka!
And like guitar chords,
That's how I start
Right.
using this, and it's perfect.
and it worked.
So how do you know when the eggs are ripe?
You don't really. You
Oh,
start
come on.
separating
You do.
and
David,
You know just by looking at them, just like other things that you know when you see. But first of all, you know by the size of the eggs.
okay.
And the second thing you know is by the looseness of the eggs.
yeah, by the loose.
Okay.
So on an unripe one, the skines are very small. The membrane is nearly completely all the way around,
Okay.
and they're just tight in there.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
That fish shouldn't have swam in.
the fish is early.
Well, this is fish
Will it
is
hang
not
out
from
up
the
there?
creek.
No.
David caught this
it'll probably
fish
hang out in the inlet longer.
with nets
Swim around
on
and
Wednesday.
wait to
We could
mature.
fish on Wednesday as a commercially, but he only caught 30 fish, so he didn't deliver. And
Well, I was trying a new spot. I fished
Yeah.
one net for a couple hours, and
yeah, and he calls, should I bring it to the girls? I said, well, bring it. Because we thought, we might go today. Today is again fishing day. So we thought
to go and to deliver.
Did you have
That's
tenders
good
at
to do.
Meyer?
Yeah,
They
but the tender's not really all together yet, and it ends up being like a 6-hour job to deliver 30
Yeah.
fish.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking,
I said, yeah, we'll smoke it, and I really
no,
know
I
that
just-
somebody
I
wants to
don't
see the
care.
caviar making, so it was perfect.
Yay.
And if we have too much fish, then I don't know if somebody wants to, or like this. The fresh fish is kind of difficult to sell in Alaska, but smoked fish, I sell some smoked fish because not everybody smokes and.
Do you your caviar, David? How do you eat it most often? Like on a cracker,
On a bread.
on bread?
So, I don't know, I don't eat crackers very much for some reason.
Oh, I like it on
I
toast
like
or
it, but
Yeah. Do you
crunchy.
toast your bread?
But,
Yeah.
Either way.
Here's something a little surprising is on cucumbers or tomatoes.
yes.
Really, anything that wants salt,
Right.
it'll
On
go with
zucchini?
anything that wants
Great.
salt.
That's a great point. Yes.
Avocados or
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, avocados is like amazing caviar with avocados. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
fill the whole
Yeah.
Yeah,
caviar.
exactly.
Right.
Tomatoes for me are so, but cucumbers or zucchini,
I mean,
it's amazing.
It-
Yeah.
It's
If you don't
traditional
eat
to
bread,
have it with
yeah.
bread and butter, but for me that doesn't get it done. Not the-
Avocados.
a cucumber,
If I have
a
breakfast,
tomato,
that's what I
or an
eat for
avocado.
breakfast. Yeah, avocado.
That does sound
And
good.
what I also like is potato chips.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
But then it gets too salty.
Yeah, well, that's
I also
I'm
eat
good
it
with
on
that.
like fried potatoes, but then if I know I'm gonna eat it with caviar, then I don't salt that much.
There's
on
two things
fried
that don't
potatoes
exist:
with-
too salty and too
Yeah.
hot.
I would have
mashed
to agree with
potatoes,
you on
Any
that.
kind of potatoes, it's like fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
On pancakes, I eat it on pancakes. That's traditional also in Russia and Lithuania to eat.
And then do you put sweet on there?
No.
Caviar
no.
on
No.
pancakes?
Okay.
Yes. Oh my
She
gosh.
like has yogurt and caviar. on
Yogurt and
pancakes.
caviar.
dear.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good to me.
Oh my
What
gosh.
about a
No,
spoonful
when
of
she's doing that,
caviar?
I have
Well, no, that might be a
maple
little bit
syrup.
salty. I was thinking in the
No,
broth.
not sweet.
Butter.
Then the pancakes obviously not sweet, but
Yeah.
butter and caviar or yogurt and caviar. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But cucumbers, tomatoes, and avocados are the best way to go.
That sounds good to me. On a
Or
cracker.
you know, it's very good. Like let's say
And a
you
cracker.
make seafood pasta, or just not seafood, just pasta with caviar,
Oh.
and boom.
You know what's much better than bread is like a rye hardtack. Hardtack.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, uh-huh.
Hardtack.
That's sweet. Yeah,
Yeah. That's the
that's Swedish flatbread, call it, or
Pasta and the caviar.
a pasta is like
That
wow.
would be gorgeous.
You know, I'm gonna make pasta tomorrow or tonight for dinner. We can make it. I make my pasta in broth, in fish broth. Oh my god, not in water, but in a broth.
broth.
So it adds obviously nutrition, and the flavor is like I don't cook pasta anymore in water.
I haven't ever tried because Jason, we're trying not to eat the pasta.
Yeah, well,
but-
I'm
I
not
haven't
eating
eaten pasta
as
in a
much
while.
too,
Yeah, me
but
too,
when
but
I
I
make
avoid
it, I'll just make it in a broth, in
Yeah.
the moose broth or fish broth.
It's good.
Have
Yeah.
you tried Dreamfields pasta?
I have. I
You know,
have.
they start selling at Costco those Asian grains organic. That's where I buy my pasta.
Yeah. Well,
Or
the
organic
Dreamfields
imitation
is made
grains.
so when you first cook it, you don't get the carb load that you
Right.
would normally. It passes through quicker. You can't reheat it
Right.
and have it low carb. But
For some reason though, Jason, we just are having a hard time getting his blood sugar under control and
Yeah,
anything
so you
just,
just-
I mean, he's on
if you
insulin,
guys,
he's
Yeah.
on
yeah,
everything.
definitely. If you guys,
And it's
eat
just
it's good
yeah.
at eating protein every time you eat something.
Yeah, we definitely try to do that.
Protein and
He eats
fat,
moose
yeah.
and eats eggs and
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
his problem too is he doesn't take time to eat, so he needs to be eating, snacking throughout the day, especially when he's out fishing. It's like,
Yeah.
and his deckhand is no help.
Yeah.
But
So the salt ratio for the caviar is basically 4:1, but it's as much as water can uptake. So I usually do it in a hot water in a boiling. Then it can uptake more salt when the water is hot. If you put the salt in a cold water, it's not gonna uptake much, so it's not gonna be salty enough. So when it's hot, it takes more salt.
And then of course you cool the water
And then
before
you cool
touches
it
the
off.
caviar.
So
Caviar
that's
gets no heat.
yeah. That's why I usually make it in the spring. So it's, and that salty water, and it's good for whenever, because if you're gonna start making right now that water, it's gonna take too long to cool it. And this
So the-
needs to be
so the
brined
other
right
thing
away. It's very
Is
very
the quality
time.
of the salt is huge.
Oh yeah,
If
well
you try to get those 25-pound bags of Costco table salt,
yeah,
disaster.
the table
It's
salt
just
is
sodium
not.
chloride. Sodium chloride is
We-
not salt.
yeah, we
so
don't
what you
use
need is
any-
natural
yeah.
salt, unrefined sea salt, or some mined salt.
I think they
real
already
salt.
know that.
Yeah.
uh,
Well, when we
goes
started
here, but-
making caviar first, that's
Yeah.
what we tried at first, and it just tastes so powerfully. It's just way overwhelming.
We don't
And-
use that table salt at all. At
Yeah,
all
it's-
So
for
the
anything.
salt you
For-
put in your smoked fish.
The same
was-
salt,
The Himalayan.
Himalayan or
salt.
just we still have some
So,
sea salt that has not been processed. The whole
yeah.
because
So-
you know what they do to the salt. Like where do you think they get minerals for the supplements? From salt. So they demineralize salt. And then they sell you for thousands of dollars into supplements, and then what's left is sodium chloride.
Oh my goodness.
And
Wow.
that's what raises the problem. You know, that like people have these problems with too much salt. It's not real salt. It's just sodium chloride. There are no other potassium or magnesium anything left. So that's the
Right,
biggest
so-
salt myth of over salting. And when you use what salt comes in, the whole salt, then you have all the minerals ratio, how nature made it. And another thing that about salt, that they say, oh, I like sea salt. I just like sea salt. All salt is sea salt. There is no other way around. Even rock salt, it came from sea. There was sea sometime in a million whatever years. It's still sea salt because it would be not.
Gotta be.
It would have not be salt without sea being
But you
there.
have to be careful because sea salt isn't a guarantee because they can heat that to 500 degrees, extract the magnesium and the potassium, and then call it sea salt.
Yeah, it's
Because
still-
it was from the sea,
yeah,
so
it's
you're
still
looking
sea
for
salt.
unrefined sea
Right.
salt.
Yeah, and exactly because it's a marketing trick. You know, like they sell it's the same like they sell this Norwegian or some other farmed fish, and they say it's ocean caught. Imagine at the
Yeah.
Whole Foods they promote ocean caught fish. They don't say it farm because people don't want to buy it.
Right.
But obviously, all these farms in the ocean.
Exactly.
It's like so it's the same
Yeah.
with salt, sea salt. Yeah, all salt is sea
Or
salt.
seeing natural on everything. That's like a big
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
So
Naturally
when
free.
doctors say someone has too much salt, they usually mean they have an imbalance and too much sodium chloride. Because in all of the commercial food supply, they use sodium chloride and call it salt.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to do for their labeling is know exactly what's in there. Because naturally, if you're mining, one shovelful is going to be different than the next. You
Right.
can't say exactly what. But then within the body, in the blood, there's a sodium chloride environment, but in the cells is potassium chloride. And there becomes an imbalance between the two. And around the blood veins is some tissue called interstitial tissue. And it's used as sort of like a junk room where you throw your junk to keep a balance. And so over time, it keeps putting sodium chloride in there to keep a proper balance. And it swells and it swells and it constricts the veins and arteries. And then high blood pressure is usually just denatured salt over time and a mineral imbalance due to denatured salt.
So it kind of damages the transportation between
Right.
the cell and the out of cell kind of balance. So even other minerals can go through when there is no potassium and sodium balance. It's difficult to the cell to get nutrients in or out.
So, limiting sugar is one thing, but looking at the type of salt you're eating is probably the second biggest thing too.
And with with all
Yeah,
the
it's-
sugar intake in the body to metabolize one sugar molecule, it requires 54 molecules of magnesium. So basically, everyone is deficient in magnesium.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, salt is about 7% magnesium, but they took it out, so you're not
Yeah.
getting any at all from your bacon from the store because they
Yeah.
use sodium chloride and called it salt.
You know, it's very beneficial to get like a hair test for the minerals because you can't assess your mineral things from the blood. And but one thing I always tell you can be safe taking magnesium because I am pretty sure everybody's deficient of magnesium.
And potassium and
And,
magnesium.
yeah. We
Do you
almost-
need, when you say about taking magnesium, are there other, like you said, potassium, does one thing help you metabolize the other?
Use it or?
Well,
Oh my
what,
God.
what you
That's
want,
what I've always heard.
what
so
you want
I
is
wouldn't-
is a certain balance. And
Ratio, yeah.
go back far enough, we crawled out of the sea, and our blood salinity is still a match for the ocean's salinity.
Yeah, it's very
And
close
then we
to blood serum.
denature that briny mixture of chemicals and minerals, and we say we're going to extract sodium chloride. Nowhere in nature does sodium chloride exist in isolation. And so we drugify even salt, and then call it salt even though it's not salt anymore.
Why did they do that to begin with?
Well,
I mean, what's the purpose? Why did they think?
Money.
Well, they extract
One-
minerals for supplements.
well, and they even use some of those minerals for bombs and other things. But one thing is that they've got regulations for labeling to say what's in it. And, natural salt varies from one shovel load to the next. So they want to break it down into, well, there's this much sodium chloride in it. And I know exactly because this is only sodium chloride. But Now, they don't bother to tell you that, you know, it used to have potassium chloride, used to have magnesium, used to have, you know, dozens of trace minerals that we don't even know what all of the necessary processes are. But, you know, we come from the ocean and we have a relationship with a certain combination and balance of minerals that we're screwing with and not thinking what the potential consequences are. And then when someone gets into trouble, they don't try to rebalance their minerals, tell them to eat seaweed and stop eating denatured salt. No, here's a drug. And the drug won't cure it.
Exactly.
But it's a treatment.
It masks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
masks some symptoms. Yeah, the whole system is philosophically broken. It's all broken. And the professionals are mainly lying for money. So
You know, it's amazing.
I've become a cynical person.
So,
That's gorgeous.
and now I'm
All those
gonna.
yummy fish eggs.
Yeah.
But when we put this on the beach for the birds, you can get your cameras. But seagulls really like that. Everybody likes it, but seagulls like you can throw skein of caviar and seagull will catch it. It's like, how do they know it's caviar from that far away? You know, it's still red.
We were concerned with we were with us, you know, party boats going over the house we had us.
I usually clean up the rack like this after I use it because it dries out and gets so sticky that it's almost, yeah, then you really have to spread it.
That makes
The
sense.
collagen so sticky and there is quite a bit of collagen in caviar too. The collagen from Latin is glue.
What'd you say?
The collagen from Latin, it has glue roots.
Glue?
The word of the
Oh, the word, yeah.
collagen means glue
Yeah.
because it's what holds us together. It's the glue that holds our body together. And you know, they used to make glue from horses and stuff. They would go and extract the collagen and make glue, bring them to the glue factory.
Oh, they
We
don't
don't
take
know,
it
we were
anymore.
just, we were just talking
they've got
about
other
root words and
chemical
Latin
ways
and
to
stuff.
glue.
The curriculum that she's looking at. Oh,
And
make sure we
gelatin
get
from their
these. This has to be taught. The root words.
Isn't that where Jello comes from?
They used to not throw away any part.
Yeah,
You know?
gelatin. Gelatin is the same as collagen except
They still make
collagen it's like a raw material and gelatin is cooked, but that's the same.
In Lithuania, they
Gelatin is like a product and collagen is like a name of
They
the
don't throw away any
protein.
pig heads. They all go into the pot and boil.
What do they do with it?
Well, that's collagen based for soups and stuff. It's really mainly in America and Canada that we've, you know, trusted science so much that we've thrown away all of our culinary wisdom that was developed over generations, and it's not working out. We're the most drugged people on the planet, but are we the healthiest? No.
We're the fattest.
Yeah.
We are. Go to any other country, and it is amazing how huge we are over here compared to everybody else.
Well,
Well, the people in Central America are.
yeah. Well, Mexico is
Not like we are.
They drink a lot of the sugary
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, now everybody is, yeah.
And yeah, they've had a denaturing of their food supply as well. Big corporations have gotten into there.
So again, with the ratio of salt to water.
Oh, to salt to water, it's 4:1, basically. 4 water, 1 salt.
Okay.
Or, well, you can measure it really, but if you put that ratio in
So what did she just pour in here?
if you put that ratio in a cold water, it's not gonna dissolve it. You need to heat water up.
Okay.
And
Was it cups? 1 cup to 4 water?
Whatever you're using
Yeah.
is the ratio.
Okay. Water in the bowl, the caviar.
sometimes I make a big pot. I don't even measure it because you can screw it up. You try to dissolve it, and you can't uptake more. And then after that pot cools down, you put it off, and you see it. If you had too much, the rest salt will just settle on top because the water cannot uptake. The molecules of water cannot uptake more. So you can't. It's no big deal.
Approximately how much caviar did you have?
You know, when I put into that brine, salty brine, wherever it floats a little, you know, so I can mix it. It's not too thick because if you don't put too much, it's not gonna brine it. But the important thing, how long to keep it in it, it's 12 to 13 minutes. Well, I'm,
That's
trying
just a short
not
amount of time.
not to, but don't keep it more than 15 minutes because it won't be possible to eat.
Oh,
It will take, it will be too salty.
will absorb
So-
it so fast.
And also, yes, so fast. And when I first time I put it in, now I'm checking, the time. And I usually do it 3 times through. What it does is washes off the blood. The salty water really washes off blood very good. See how the water is still bloody, and the last time you wash it, it's almost clear. Like this one is not bloody. David probably blooded fish, sooner or something. Sometimes it's
So within
eggs
your,
are bloody, but don't worry because it washes very good when you separate.
so you do 3 rinses within your 12 to
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yeah. So between now and 15 minutes, I have to drain it off in 15 minutes.
This is already
She makes this
salted water.
in the spring through
Yeah, it's
several different stages because it has to cool off between batches.
So how I usually do it, I wash it the first 2 times. I rinse, swirl it around and wash it, and then the 3rd time it's clean. Then I keep it until the 15 minutes is up. Yeah, I think. So the first 2 times basically to washing off the salt of the blood. But it's also brines, so you have to include that time into consideration. I think we'll have enough for the lunch. But 1:30 by the time. It needs to dry out a little bit if we're gonna eat it just like that. It's a little kind of too watery, and the real flavor, it needs to stay like until tomorrow would be better than to eat it right away because it kind of mellows out the flavor.
Yeah, it tastes less salty later on.
Kind of, yeah.
Balances itself.
There's some up there that keeps.
Yeah.
You might as well, come on.
Close it and put it there so I know it's a jar for that. So now I'm gonna keep it until the time is up.